I guess I should start by saying that I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. My name is Jake, and for the past 5 years I thought I had a solid marriage with my wife, Sarah. We were the kind of couple that seemed perfect on the outside. Friends would often say we were the golden couple. We had a nice home, a great circle of friends, and we both enjoyed traveling. But recently, things started to feel off. It all began with little things. Sarah started getting home late from work, claiming she had meetings that ran long. Her phone was always buzzing, but when I'd ask about it, she'd brush it off, saying it was just her colleagues messaging. I noticed she was spending more time on social media, posting pictures of happy hour with friends while I was at home waiting for her dinner. I tried to be understanding, but it nagged at me. One day, I decided to surprise her with a weekend getaway. I booked a cozy cabin in the mountains, thinking it would reignite some of the spark we had lost. When I told her about the plans, seemed distracted. She forced a smile and said it sounded great, but I saw the hesitation in her eyes. I shrugged it off at first, convincing myself that maybe she was just stressed with work. Then came the day that changed everything. I was cleaning out the garage when I stumbled upon an old box of things we had both put away years ago. I found a few of Sarah's old journals and curiosity got the better of me. I flipped through them, and while most of it was mundane, one entry caught my eye. It described a trip she took with a new friend she had met. The details were vague, but the way she wrote about this friend stirred something in me. It felt too personal, too intimate. Later that evening, I confronted her about it. I casually mentioned the journal, expecting her to laugh it off. Instead, her face paled. I pressed further and she quickly changed the subject. That's when I knew something was off. The tension in the room grew, so I decided to dig deeper. I started paying attention to her phone, something I never thought I'd do, but I needed answers. One evening, while she was in the shower, I took a quick peek. I saw text messages that made my heart drop, flirty exchanges with a guy named Ryan, who was supposedly our tour guide from a recent trip to Italy. They were planning to meet up again, and the things they said made it clear it was more than just friendly. My hands shook as I read the messages, each word feeling like a knife to my heart. When she got out of the shower, I confronted her. I can still hear the disbelief in my voice as I asked her directly, "Are you cheating on me?" She hesitated, looking caught off guard, and then went into panic mode. She started spewing excuses, how it was just harmless flirting, how I was overreacting, how she loved me but was just feeling lost. I felt rage and betrayal wash over me. Her justification of saying it was innocent made me feel foolish. "It's not what it looks like," she insisted, her voice rising. But I could see right through her lies. Just a month ago, we had gone to dinner with friends, and I could have sworn she was texting him under the table. All the signs were there, and I had been too blind to see them. In that moment, I realized my entire world was crumbling. I stood there, feeling a mix of anger and heartbreak. I couldn't even process everything she was saying anymore. I just wanted her to admit the truth, but she never did. It was like she was more afraid of the consequences than the act itself. As she continued to plead her case, I felt a chill run down my spine. I had trusted her completely, and now I was left standing there feeling like a fool. I needed to gather my thoughts. The emotional whirlwind was just beginning, and I knew I had to figure out what I wanted to do next. Would I fight for my marriage? Or was it time to let go of the woman who had betrayed me so deeply? The road ahead looked uncertain, and the pain was just setting in. The days following that confrontation felt like an emotional fog had settled over me. Sarah didn't seem to grasp the gravity of what she had done. She would try to apologize, claiming she'd made a mistake and that I should give her another chance. But every time she opened her mouth, I felt a mix of rage and sadness bubbling inside me. I couldn't shake off the feeling of betrayal. With every lie she told, it became harder for me to see the woman I had loved for so long. I remember one night, laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, just thinking about everything. I felt a profound sense of loss, not just for my marriage but for the future I thought we had together. The idea of building a life together, a home, kids, and all that seemed laughable now. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. The woman I had trusted to stand by me through thick and thin had betrayed that trust in the most gut-wrenching way possible. I spent hours scrolling through social media, getting lost in the posts of couples on vacation, living their best lives, and it made the sting of my reality that much worse. I hated that my mind kept going back to the images of Sarah with Ryan, laughing together as they explored new places. The thought of her being intimate with someone else was like a punch to the gut. She had shared our cherished travels with a stranger, and that was a wound that cut deep. One evening, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I had to confront the truth, not just for myself, but to show Sarah that I wasn't going to be a doormat. I texted her to meet me at a local cafe. I wanted to have a serious conversation, a definitive talk that would either lead us to resolution or separation. When she arrived, she was dressed nicely, trying to put on a brave face. Just watching her walk toward me, I felt anger rise again. She sat down, and for a moment there was silence. I could see the nervousness in her eyes, almost like she suspected the end was coming. I took a deep breath, steadying myself for what I was about to unleash. "Sarah, I want you to be honest with me," I started, keeping my voice calm. "Are you still seeing Ryan?" Her face turned pale and she immediately started fumbling for words. "Jake, save it. I've seen the messages, I know everything." My words cut through the air and I saw the realization dawn on her. "There's no point in lying anymore. It's done. You've ruined our marriage." It was like I punched her in the gut. For a moment she looked as if I had shattered her entire world. I couldn't help but feel a tinge of satisfaction at her distress. After all, she had turned my world upside down, and now it was her turn to face the music. "Jake, please. It was a mistake," she pleaded. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was just a moment of weakness." Her excuses rolled off her tongue like practiced lines, and I found myself growing more frustrated with every word. "A moment of weakness. You've been talking to him for months, Sarah. This isn't just a fling, it's an affair." The coffee shop buzzed around us, but in that moment, it felt like we were the only two people in the world. I watched her eyes dart around as if searching for a way to escape the truth. "I love you, Jake," she finally blurted, desperation creeping into her voice. "I made a mistake, but I still love you." I looked at her, feeling hollow. "Love does betray, Sarah. Love doesn't flirt or sleep with someone else. You've shattered my trust, and I don't know if I can ever get that back." Her face crumpled as she tried to hold back tears. "Please," she whispered, "I'll do anything to fix this. I'll end it with him. Just give me another chance." I shook my head. "I don't know if I can. I need time to think." After that meeting, I felt as if I had stepped off a precipice into uncertainty. I left the cafe with more questions than answers. Could I really trust her again? Or was this the beginning of the end for us? I knew I had to make a choice, and soon. I spent the next few days in a daze, wrestling with my thoughts. I started reflecting on all the good times we'd had, our travels together, those warm evenings on the couch, the laughter we shared. But amidst those memories, the betrayal loomed like a dark cloud. I made it a point to avoid Sarah as much as possible. I didn't want to listen to her pleas or see her tear-streaked face. I needed clarity, and I knew that meant stepping away from her for a while. So I took matters into my own hands. I packed a bag and decided to go on a short trip alone. It was time to clear my head and figure out what I really wanted. I needed to travel the world without her and document every moment, every beautiful sunset, every laugh, and every thrilling adventure. I wanted her to see what she missed, to understand the gravity of what she had thrown away. I wanted to turn the tables, and perhaps in doing so, I'd find a new beginning for myself. With that thought in mind, I boarded a plane to a destination that had been on my bucket list for years. I was determined to make the most of this new chapter, no matter how painful it was to let go of the old one. Stepping off the plane in Barcelona felt like a breath of fresh air. The vibrant city, with its stunning architecture and lively atmosphere, was a stark contrast to the heaviness I had been carrying. I was alone, yes, but I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't experienced in a long time. I had left the chaos of my life behind, and for the first time in days I could think clearly. I checked into a small hotel in the heart of the city, nothing fancy, just a cozy place with a balcony overlooking a bustling street. I dropped my bags and immediately ventured out to explore. The sun was shining, the smell of fresh tapas wafted through the air, and I could hear the distant sounds of laughter and music. It felt like a different world, one where the weight of betrayal couldn't reach me. As I wandered through the streets, I took photos of everything: the stunning Sagrada Familia, the vibrant colors of Park Güell, and the people enjoying life around me. I wanted to capture the joy and beauty of this moment, not just for myself, but to show Sarah what she was missing. I envisioned sending her a postcard from every city I visited, each with a snapshot of my adventures, scenes she would never be a part of again. That first evening, I found myself sitting at a small cafe, sipping on a glass of wine and watching the sun set over the city. The sky turned a brilliant shade of orange and pink, and I felt a flicker of hope. In that moment, I realized I didn't just want to document my travels for her. I wanted to reclaim my life. I wanted to remind myself that I could be happy again, even after the pain. Over the next few days, I immersed myself in the culture. I visited museums, tried local dishes, and even took a flamenco dance class. With every experience, I felt more alive. I started to meet people, fellow travelers who were eager to share their stories, their laughter, and their experiences. I was reminded of the joy of connection, a feeling I had almost forgotten in my troubled marriage. One afternoon, while enjoying a leisurely lunch at a seaside restaurant, I met a group of travelers from Australia. They were full of life, and their energy was infectious. We swapped stories over bottles of sangria, and I found myself sharing my own. I told them about my marriage, my heartbreak, and my journey to reclaim my happiness. They listened intently, offering both sympathy and encouragement. It felt good to share my story with people who understood. One of them, a woman named Mia, suggested I take a day trip to the nearby island of Majorca. "You need to see the beaches here," she insisted, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It's paradise. You'll forget all about your troubles." I took her advice and booked a spot on a ferry for the next day. As I stood on the deck, wind in my hair, I felt a rush of exhilaration. The island of Majorca was breathtaking, with turquoise waters and golden sands that stretched as far as the eye could see. I spent the day exploring hidden coves, swimming in the warm sea and soaking up the sun. I snapped photos of the stunning landscape and smiled as I imagined Sarah looking at them, wishing she could have been there. But it wasn't just about making her feel regret. It was about rediscovering myself. I was starting to remember who I was before the marriage, the adventurous spirit who loved to travel and experience life. Each sunset felt like a reminder of what I had lost, but also what I could regain. When I returned to Barcelona, I was brimming with newfound confidence. I wrote Sarah a postcard from Majorca, a simple message that said, "This place is beautiful, I wish you could see it." I wanted her to realize the gravity of her choices, to understand that her actions had consequences. As the days turned into weeks, I continued my journey through Europe, moving from one city to another: Paris, Rome, and Athens. Each place offered its own magic, and I documented everything. I filled my journal with thoughts and experiences, capturing the moments that filled my heart with joy. But as much as I was enjoying myself, there was still a nagging feeling at the back of my mind. I wasn't just escaping from Sarah, I was also running from the pain of what she had done. I still had unresolved feelings: anger, betrayal, and sadness. It was one thing to travel and feel free, but it was another to confront the reality of my marriage. Eventually, I knew I had to face the truth. I couldn't just keep running away from my feelings. I needed closure, and that meant having another conversation with Sarah. While I was out discovering the world, she was back home, probably living her life as if nothing had happened. I wanted to confront her again, not just for the sake of our relationship, but for my own peace of mind. So I decided that once I returned home, I would have one last heart-to-heart with her. I needed to hear her side, to see if there was any possibility of reconciliation, or if it was truly time to say goodbye for good. But at that moment, I was still riding the wave of my adventure, enjoying the freedom and the beauty of the world around me. Little did I know, my return would bring its own set of challenges and surprises. Eventually, the time came for me to return home. After weeks of exploring breathtaking cities and connecting with incredible people, I felt like a new version of myself. I had rediscovered my passion for life, but the thought of facing Sarah again filled me with apprehension. I was both excited and terrified about what this next conversation would hold. As my plane touched down, a mix of emotions washed over me. Part of me was eager to confront the reality of my marriage, while another part was tempted to bury my head in the sand and forget about everything. But I knew I couldn't hide from the truth any longer. I had to face the music. When I walked through the door of our home, it felt strangely foreign. The familiar scents and sounds seemed amplified, reminding me of happier times. I had always loved this space, but now it felt tainted, forever altered by betrayal. I took a deep breath and braced myself for what was to come. Sarah was there, sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. When she saw me, a look of relief washed over her face. "Jake, you're back," she exclaimed, rushing to embrace me. I felt stiff in her arms, unable to reciprocate the warmth. I pulled away, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Hey, Sarah," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "We need to talk." Her expression shifted from joy to concern. "I've missed you so much. I'm so glad you're home. Can't we just relax for a bit, catch up?" I shook my head. "No, not right now. I need you to hear me out." I led her to the dining room table, where I had set up some of the photos I had taken during my travels. I wanted her to see the moments I had experienced without her. Each picture told a story, a beautiful memory that she would never be a part of, and I hoped it would drive home the point of her betrayal. As she looked at the images, a sunset in Santorini, a bustling market in Marrakesh, and a quiet moment on the beaches of Bali, her eyes widened. "Wow, Jake, these are incredible," she said, a hint of envy creeping into her voice. "I know," I replied, my heart heavy. "And this is what I want to talk about. While I was out there experiencing all of this, I couldn't help but think about how much you've changed. You were supposed to be the one traveling with me, sharing these moments. Instead, you were with Ryan." The color drained from her face, and I could see the realization of her actions hit her hard. "Jake, I'm sorry. I was so stupid. I didn't think it would go that far. It was just a fling." "A fling? It lasted for months, Sarah. You kept lying to me, telling me it was nothing, while you were planning your next rendezvous. Do you have any idea how that felt?" Hot tears streamed down her face as she struggled to respond. "I never meant to hurt you. I was just feeling lost. I thought you didn't care anymore." "Don't twist this around on me," I interrupted, feeling the anger boil inside. "You made your choices. You crossed a line that shouldn't have been crossed. You could have talked to me about feeling lost instead of seeking validation from someone else." She glanced at the photos again, her voice trembling. "I see that now. I can't believe I let it get to this point. I was selfish, and I truly regret it. I cut her off again, needing her to understand the depth of my feelings. "You have to understand that I can't just magically forget what you did. You've shattered my trust, and repairing that is going to take more than an apology." She nodded, wiping her tears. "I know, and I want to make it right. I'll do anything to fix this, Jake. Please just give me one more chance." I paused, weighing her words. Part of me wanted to believe her that she was sincere and that we could find a way to rebuild. But another part of me screamed in protest, reminding me that trust was not something I could easily give back. "Sarah, I need time," I finally said, my voice firm but tinged with sorrow. "I want to see if we can move past this, but it's going to take a lot of work. You'll have to show me that you're committed to making this marriage work and that you understand the consequences of your actions. I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but it's going to take time." Her expression softened, and I could see a flicker of hope in her eyes. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I love you, Jake, I really do." I felt a mix of emotions as I took in her words. Love. Did I still love her? The answer was complicated. I cared for her deeply, but my heart was still raw from the betrayal. "Love isn't enough right now, Sarah. We need to rebuild trust, and that's going to take time." "Are you prepared for that?" She nodded earnestly. "Yes, I am, I promise. To prove to you that I can be the wife you deserve." We spent the rest of the evening talking, clarifying our feelings and laying the groundwork for what the next steps might look like. The more we discussed, the clearer it became that while we had a long road ahead, the conversation itself felt like a tentative step toward healing. As I listened to her, I still felt uncertain about whether we could truly move forward. It would take time, effort, and a lot of vulnerability from both of us. I was willing to try, but I also knew I had to protect my heart. I still needed to document my journey, my travels, my feelings, and the ups and downs of our relationship. This was just the beginning of a challenging chapter, and I wasn't sure where it would lead. But as tough as it was to confront the truth, it was also liberating. I was ready to face the consequences of her actions and chart a path toward whatever came next. I had traveled the world without her, and now, together, we had to navigate the complexities of our relationship. Would we emerge stronger, or would this be the end? Only time would tell. The weeks that followed that conversation felt like a delicate balancing act. Sarah and I were officially in repair mode, but the process was anything but linear. Some days were promising, filled with hopeful discussions about the future, while others felt like walking through a minefield, where one misstep could lead to another explosion of resentment or guilt. We sought couples therapy, which was an intimidating step for me but ultimately necessary. I knew we needed a neutral space to explore our feelings and work through the complexities of trust. Our therapist, Dr. Lawrence, was a seasoned professional who guided us through the discussions, often challenging both of us to look beyond just our pain and to understand the root causes of our actions. In one of our sessions, I shared how Sarah's infidelity had triggered a deep sense of abandonment in me. I felt like I wasn't enough. I admitted, my voice wavering. Like I had failed you somehow. Sarah leaned forward, her voice trembling. That's the last thing I ever wanted you to feel, Jake. I was selfish, and I see that now. I couldn't communicate my feelings. And I chose the worst possible way to cope. I'm so sorry. Dr. Lawrence nodded, encouraging us to delve deeper. It seems both of you are grappling with feelings of inadequacy, Jake, feeling abandoned, and Sarah, feeling unfulfilled. Let's explore those feelings together and see how we can bridge that gap. At first, it was painful to peel back all the layers of hurt. I often felt like I was reliving moments I had tried to suppress, the nights I spent alone, the missed connections, and the loneliness that wrapped around me like a thick fog. And even though I was surrounded by people, I felt isolated in my heartbreak. We began to set small goals for ourselves, daily check-ins where we would share our feelings openly and honestly, even if it was uncomfortable. I started to see changes in Sarah. She became more vulnerable, admitting her fears and regrets more freely. It felt like we were beginning to break down the walls that had formed between us, even if it was brick by brick. One night, after a particularly good therapy session, we decided to cook dinner together. It felt nostalgic and reassuring, familiar in a way that reminded me of the early days of our relationship. As we chopped vegetables and stirred sauces, I could feel the tension easing. "Remember that time we tried to make homemade pasta?" Sarah asked, a wistful smile on her face. I chuckled, recalling how it had been an epic disaster with flour everywhere and the pasta sticking together in clumps. "Yeah, and we ended up ordering pizza instead." "Yes, I can still remember how we laughed about it, and then we ended up just laying on the floor watching movies." It was moments like these that reminded me of the love we once shared. I didn't want to forget those memories. They were a part of who we were as a couple. Still, the shadows of Sarah's betrayal loomed larger than I wished. Every time she left her phone unattended, I felt a pang of anxiety. She reassured me countless times that there was nothing to worry about, but the scars of the past didn't heal overnight. I often found myself replaying our last conversation, wondering if the changes we were making would be enough. As the weeks turned into months, I started to see glimpses of hope. We began to plan small outings, weekend trips, and even a little getaway for just the two of us. It was a start. I couldn't help but wonder, could we truly rebuild what had been broken? But then something unexpected happened. One Friday evening, while I was working late, I received a text from Sarah that sent my heart racing. "Can we talk? I need to share something important." My stomach sank. I immediately feared the worst. I rushed home, my mind racing with all the possibilities. What if she had fallen back into old habits? What if she had met up with Ryan again? When I walked through the door, Sarah was already sitting at the kitchen table, her hands clasped nervously in front of her. The look on her face told me that what she was about to say wasn't going to be easy. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She took a deep breath, tears brimming in her eyes. "Jake, I need you to know that I've been doing a lot of thinking over the past few weeks. About us. About everything." "Okay," I replied, my heart pounding. "I don't want to keep anything from you. I want to be completely honest. I've been in touch with Ryan." Every word she spoke felt like a punch to the gut. I froze in my seat, disbelief flooding my mind. "What do you mean you've been in touch with him?" It was brief, and I didn't want to hide it from you. We exchanged a few messages. I told him I was trying to move on and that I didn't want any contact with him anymore." "Why didn't you tell me this before?" I demanded, my voice a mixture of hurt and anger. "You know how much this would hurt me." I know," she pleaded, her voice rising. "But I was scared. I didn't want to hurt you even more. I thought it would be easier to just move past it without bringing it up." "Easier for you, maybe, not for me. How can I trust that this is really over? You said you'd do anything to prove you're committed to this relationship." "I am, I swear. I've cut all ties with him. I just wanted to be honest with you because I love you and I don't want any secrets between us. I'm willing to fight for this, Jake. Please believe me." I felt the anger boiling inside me, but as I looked into her eyes, I could see the sincerity in her expression. I knew that she was trying to be open, but the pain of her past choices clawed at my heart. As the emotional turmoil raged inside me, I realized that this revelation was not just about her past mistakes. It was also about the future we could salvage together. I had a choice to make. Would I let this setback destroy the progress we had made, or would I choose to work through it and see if our love could evolve into something stronger? I took a moment to collect my thoughts, weighing the hurt against the possibility of growth. Finally, I spoke, my voice steadier than I felt. "Sarah, we have a lot of work to do. This can't just be a conversation. It has to be a commitment from both of us to move forward together. I need you to understand that this will take time, and I'm going to need to see your actions match your words." "I understand," she replied, her voice filled with determination. "I'm ready to do whatever it takes. I love you, Jake, and I don't want to lose you again." As we sat there, the weight of our struggles felt heavy, but there was a flicker of hope. We both knew we had a long road ahead, but perhaps we could navigate it together. I realized that love was not just about avoiding pain. It was about choosing to face it together, no matter how daunting the journey may be. The path to healing was still uncertain, but it was one I was willing to walk if it meant finding out if our love could still flourish amidst the scars of betrayal. The days following our difficult conversation felt like a new chapter in our marriage, one filled with challenges, but also with a renewed sense of purpose. Sarah and I were both committed to the work ahead, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of hope that we could emerge stronger from this. We continued our therapy sessions, focusing not only on Sarah's infidelity, but also on rebuilding the foundation of our relationship. Dr. Lawrence encouraged us to communicate openly, to share our fears and hopes. It became clear that we both had work to do, understanding our own emotions and learning how to support each other through the healing process. One day, Sarah suggested we make a list of things we wanted to do together. She wanted to reignite the spark that had been lost. We sat together on the couch, jotting down everything from simple date nights to grand adventures. It felt like a fresh start, as if we were rediscovering each other all over again. "Let's plan a trip," she said, her eyes lighting up. "Somewhere we can create new memories together." I smiled at her enthusiasm. "How about a road trip? We can visit places we've never been." "Perfect. We can make it a fun adventure, just like when we first started dating," she replied, her excitement contagious. As we planned, I noticed how much effort Sarah was putting into making things right. She was more attentive, more present. We began to engage in deeper conversations, sharing our dreams and fears without hesitation. I could see her commitment, and for the first time, I felt the weight of betrayal lifting, even if only slightly. We decided on a weekend trip to the coast, just the two of us, with no distractions. The drive was filled with laughter and reminiscing about our early days together. We played our favorite songs, and I felt the tension gradually dissipate as we enjoyed the journey. There was something liberating about being on the road again, free from the heaviness of our struggles. Finally, we arrived at a picturesque beach town. with colorful houses lining the shore and the sound of waves crashing in the background. I could feel the warmth of the sun on my face as we stepped out of the car, and for the first time in months, I felt a genuine smile spread across my lips. We spent the next few days exploring the area, hiking along the cliffs, visiting local shops, and enjoying candle-lit dinners with stunning ocean views. Each moment felt like a step toward healing, a sign that we were moving forward. We created new memories together, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a renewed sense of connection with Sarah. On our last night, we walked along the beach hand in hand as the sun set in a burst of orange and pink hues. The beauty of the moment struck me. I turned to Sarah, my heart full. "I'm glad we did this," I said, my voice steady. "Me too," she replied, her gaze locked on mine. "I know I've hurt you and I'm sorry for that. I want to spend the rest of my life proving that I can be the partner you deserve." I paused, feeling the weight of her words. "I appreciate that, Sarah, but we have to remember that this journey is just beginning. It will take time to fully rebuild the trust that was lost, and we must be patient with each other." "I understand," she said, her voice sincere. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I love you, Jake." As I looked into her eyes, I realized that forgiveness wasn't going to come easily, but I had a choice to make. I could either let the past define us or choose to look toward the future with hope. In that moment, I decided to take a chance. I leaned in and kissed her softly, feeling a mix of love and determination. Over the next few months, our relationship continued to blossom, though not without its challenges. There were moments when doubts crept in, but we were committed to facing them together. We learned to communicate better, to express our needs and desires openly. It wasn't always easy, but we were both willing to put in the work to make our marriage thrive. I started to see a new chapter unfolding before us, one where trust could be rebuilt and love could grow stronger. I found a renewed joy in our relationship, and I cherished the moments we created together. I documented our journey through photographs and journal entries, capturing both the struggles and the victories. As I reflected on everything that had transpired, the pain, the heartbreak, and the healing, I realized that this experience had taught me valuable lessons about love, trust, and resilience. I learned that relationships require effort from both partners, and that healing is a process that takes time. Ultimately, I decided to embrace the uncertainty of the future. I didn't know what lay ahead, but I was committed to walking this path with Sarah. Together, we would navigate the complexities of our relationship, armed with the knowledge that love can endure even the toughest trials. As we stood on that same beach where we had begun to heal, watching the waves crash against the shore, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. No matter what challenges lay ahead, I knew that we would face them together, ready to embrace whatever came our way. Together, we would forge a new beginning, one built on trust, love, and the promise of brighter days ahead.